Okay, so for today's video, I'm going to be doing my go-to makeup look. This is something that I have found works for my skin type. These are products that I know work for me. I do have combination skin, more towards the oily side. This is going to be a little bit of a dewier look, even though I do have combination oily skin. So if you have the same type of skin as I'm also acne prone, scarring, things like that. So if you have similar skin type issues, then just keep on watching and hopefully you'll learn something. While I am concealing under my brows, I'm going to go over my brows and just talk a little bit about them. This is the Physicians Formula concealer. I took the sticker off. It looks a lot like the MAC Pro Longwear. Same problem as the MAC Pro Longwear, where the pump disperses a little bit too much product, but that's okay because you get a lot in the tube. I'm just going to take this little flat brush and we're gonna just conceal under the brows. The thing with this routine for me is sometimes I do my brows first and sometimes I do them in the middle of my foundation routine. I'm just doing it like this today so I could get really good brows. Like if I'm going for a sculpted brow look, then I will do the brows first and then clean up the underneath. There's other times where I want to look a little bit more natural and less put together, and then I will do the brows in the middle of my routine, usually after my eyeshadow is done. This look is going to look like you are like glowing from within, and it's going to look like you didn't put a lot of effort into it, even though you kind of did. And I want to focus more so on the technique rather than the products that I'm using. I will tell you what I'm using, but I think it's really important that you just first learn the techniques and then you can put that towards products you already own rather than feeling pressured to go out and buy these exact products. I'm just going to take my little mini Real Techniques beauty blender. I absolutely love these little blenders to get into like the small sockets of your eye. They're really good for in your inner corner and under eye area also. I will say I do prefer the smaller beauty sponges by Real Techniques and not the orange one. I find that one's a little bit too tough. I am going to skip the eyes for now. If you watched me in the past, I used to do my eye makeup first. It's personal preference. Sometimes if I'm going for a darker look, I will do my eyes first so I don't get the fallout on my face. But today is a very light eye makeup day, so we're not going to really worry about that. I have been loving this Urban Decay Rehab Makeup Prep. It's a Hot Springs Hydrating Gel. I will say priming my face has been a huge step for me lately, just because I feel like it really sets in my makeup. I did moisturize beforehand and then I did my brows. I wanted to get enough time for the moisturizer to sit in my to sink into my face. So I'm just going to take a little bit of this. This, I would say, it's not a moisturizer. Like strictly a moisturizer. Maybe it's like a moisturizing primer. It's just encapsulated water. So in essence, it's really just like putting water on your face, I guess. But I find it sinks into the skin really nicely and it doesn't leave my skin oily like some moisturizers and primers do. And it doesn't take, like if you're in a rush and you don't have time to let your moisturizer sink in or your primer sink in, this is a good alternative because it sinks in really fast. Then for me, I need some type of pore minimizer primer, just because in this area on both sides of my face, a little bit on my forehead and my chin, I do have larger pores. I used to use the Smashbox, and I still love the Smashbox one. But this is the Touch in Soul No Problem Primer. It is a pink color. It is like your similar, it's similar to the Smashbox in the sense that it is a dimethicone, silicone feeling primer. And I just take this on this area where I have the larger pores. I don't use very much at all. This also is not, I find the Smashbox is a little bit more oily, even though it is oil free, but this dries a little bit more matte. Okay, then for me, a lot of people want to go in with a very full coverage, thick foundation. For me, I've been staying away from that. I'm going to let my foundation be a like a medium coverage foundation. Or should I say a little bit, it's full coverage, but the consistency is not thick. So I'm going to be using something like the CoverGirl Healthy Elixir, or the LA Girl Pro Coverage is also nice. I do have to mix a little bit of both, so I am going to take a little bit of the shade Porcelain by the LA Girl. I do about 1.5 pumps of that. And then this is the shade 725 Buff Beige, and I take a pump of that, or should I say like about 1.5 pumps? No, half a pump. And then I'm going to just mix that on the back of my hand. If you're going for like a more glowy look, you can also take some type of liquid illuminator. I'm going to take the Marc Jacobs the Do You drops. And this, you can kind of control how much you are putting in. So I'm going to do just a tiny little pump, not even a full pump, not even a half of it. I do prefer to use a beauty blender. I'm going to be using the L'Oreal Sponge Shea. I find it's a little bit denser than the beauty blender, so you don't get those like little spongy holes that the beauty blender sometimes puts on your face. But this is very squishy and not hard at all, even though it is dense. I start where I have my problem areas, and it's usually my chin and lower jaw area. And I always look into mirrors. I always look at the mirror that's in front of me, and then a smaller mirror that I can look up close, just because sometimes when you're doing your makeup, from far away it looks great, but when you look close up, there's little imperfections that you can fix by going over with the beauty blender. This combo for me gives a very lightweight skin type effect on my skin. I start with light layers, and I like to build just because it's better to add on to what, like, the areas that you need rather than trying to take them away. Because if you do put too much too soon, it can look very cakey. And it will enhance the texture of your skin if you put too many layers at one time. For me, I don't want a very cakey under eye, so I try to avoid as much of the under eye area as possible. If the blender can't reach without it going into my eye, if you see what I'm saying, then I don't go any further. Sometimes I do color correct before foundation. Sometimes I do it after. It just depends. You don't have to color correct if you don't need to. That sometimes isn't a necessary step. But I've noticed that in this area, it does help if I color correct. So I'm going to do a little bit of that once I'm done with this first layer. For my forehead, I like to take the sponge and dip it into the foundation and then squeeze it, because I don't want to have to worry about blending in my hairline, or like blending it down and then I'll have like this line of foundation. So I place it and then I lightly start blending it up, because all this is going to be covered by a bronzer anyways. If you are the type that likes the full coverage right off the bat, by all means do that. I would just recommend using a little bit at a time and building up. And I do take the time to make sure that my foundation is very well blended before I add any other product on top, just because I don't want to create any more texture than what I already have. And don't forget to blend down your neck. I don't go all the way down. I stop like midway. Okay, once the foundation is on and set, I don't wait too long for it to dry, just because I don't want to try and blend concealer on top of a dry foundation, just because it's going to end up like balling up in certain areas and looking a little bit muddy. So what I'm going to do is, I like to rely mostly on my coverage from concealer. And what I've been doing for that is I'm going to go in again with the Physicians Formula. Again, this is very similar to MAC's Pro Longwear. I use this, or I've been using the Maybelline Instant Age Rewind in the shade Light, just to give a little bit of a, I'm going to call it a base. I don't want to go straight in under my eyes with something like the Tarte Shape Tape, because for me it's a little bit too thick and more of a drier consistency in my opinion, and it's just and it's a little bit on the grayer tones. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna make it so it's a seamless blend, so it's not just straight up under eye and then foundation. It's going to be a nice meld, and it's going to look like that's just how my skin naturally is. I take the end of the Real Techniques Little Beauty Sponge, but before I go in with my concealer, I am going to color correct. Just, that's the wrong color. I would look ridiculous. We're going to color correct. This is the Ulta Beauty Color Correcting Liquid Concealer Waterproof in Peach. They have other brands who have similar things. I think Hard Candy has some. I don't know if they're good or not. But usually any brand has color correcting. Green is for redness. It counteracts the redness. I use Peach for my dark under eyes and for the skin discoloration in this area that I have. But all you need is just one little bit on each side. I don't know if you can tell, it's just right there. And then I go in with the little beauty sponge. The key is to only put it where you need it, and again, build up products always. Then I'm going to go in with the Physicians Formula little concealer thing I had. It's like the no filter, whatever. And then I'm going to take some on my beauty blender. I think a lot of times on YouTube's, the gurus tell you to go straight into like a bright under eye. For me, it makes things a little bit too cakey for me. I am going to use the Tarte Shape Tape, but I'm going to use that as just strictly a brightener, not to conceal and highlight under my eyes. It's just going to be a small added touch of a brightener. This is really just highlighting my natural under eye. And this is really good if you're going for more of a natural daytime look. You can always just skip the Tarte Shape Tape altogether. Again, I'm using two mirrors. I'm looking in my viewfinder, the mirror, and this. just to make sure that it's looking nice. For me, I can get away with doing this look in about 30 minutes, maybe, if I'm really like in a rush. But I like to take my time and give my face a little bit extra loving, just because I know if I don't, the makeup, no matter how good I am at makeup, if the application for me isn't taking my time and making sure the products have time to settle in, it will look cakey and bunched up. So I either go completely without makeup, or I make sure I have enough time to do each step. Some people can be out the door in and out like 10 minutes. I've tried and I can't, and it doesn't look that good. Also, for me, doing this method, it doesn't accentuate any of my fine lines, because I don't care if it claims to be like a creaseless concealer. If you have lines under your eyes, they will pop up, and you will have to go back in and fix them before putting your powder. I've been doing this method a little bit different. I was skipping cream contour for a while because it was a little bit too harsh for me. I found a different way to do it so it's a little bit more natural and not as thick on the skin. And I got it by watching, her name's Amy. I don't know how to say her last name. I can link it or put a name right here. She did the Kim Kardashian recreation of her 5-minute face or whatever, and she took a stick like this. This is the Wet n Wild Where's Walnut contour stick, and a brush, and she applied, instead of applying the contour directly to her face, she used the brush. And I did that, and I found it created a very natural look to the skin. I do jump around a little bit just because I want it to look as natural as possible. And me doing the light concealer under the eyes and then going back in with this really makes it look natural and smooth. If you are new to contouring, it's just, you can take your brush in your ear, and it's usually right here. You can suck in and then go with that natural line. That also helps. On camera, it's coming off a little bit more orange than it does in real life. In real life, it looks very natural. But with each step, once I blend, I do go back in with my beauty blender and I go over it just a little bit to soften the edges. And I work on one side of my face at a time. So I'm gonna not go into this side, I'm gonna go to the tops of my head. And like I said before, I didn't put foundation too far into my hairline because I am going over it with a cream product like this. I won't start directly at the hairline. I'm gonna go a little bit below that and then blend it up. And it just gives a more natural blend that way. Again, I build up on my product even whenever I'm applying it with the brush. This really isn't anything extreme. It's very light contouring, just because I am going to go over it with a powder to set it all into place. Some mistakes people make whenever they're doing a contour, even if it's applying the stick directly to the face, is they want to start here. You're distributing most of your product if you start here. I would recommend placing most of it on the outer and then diffusing it towards the center. Again, going over it. I have tried putting this on with a beauty blender, like directly like this, but I didn't like the finish it gave, so I used the brush and then go over it. This is the e.l.f. foundation blurring brush, by the way. Most of the items I use are cheaper drugstore, just because for one, I can't afford all that high-end stuff when drugstore does just as good. I do a little bit under the chin and the jawline, not much, because I find for me, if I go to look down, because I have like that going on, it's gonna make it look like I have a beard. Two, if you have a foundation left over on your beauty blender and you did go a little bit too harsh, that's gonna like blend it out a lot better. For my nose though, I don't use this because it is a little bit too dark. I use this little sample of the Hoola Quickie Contour Stick. I will repurchase this once I run out of this, just because I do really like this for that reason. But if you're looking for something that's a little bit cheaper, I do recommend the Fit Me Foundation Stick in the shade 330. They are very similar. And I applied this directly to my nose, but I use a very light hand. I do take a little bit right here. I normally don't do this, but I do feel like when I am using the cream contour, it really brings in everything together. I'm gonna, oh, I also put some under my bottom lip because I want it to look like I have a fuller bottom. And a little bit here. A lot of this I learned from that Kim Kardashian video, but I'm not spending that 50 bucks for that. No ma'am, thank you. Okay, and then as you can tell, it still looks a little harsh on camera. In person, it looks great. But what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take my Tarte Shape Tape in the shade Light Sand. Some people can get away with putting it all over their face. I did that. I used to love that. I can't really do that anymore just because it looks a little bit too thick. So what I like to do is I take one dot here, one dot here, one dot here, a little bit in my nose, not much, and I work one side at a time. I think it's Jackie Aina who puts it under her eyes and lets it sit. I've tried that and I can't do that, so I do work one side at a time. And I start from the bottom and work my way up. And I don't know if you can tell, but it just brightens the under eye and it makes it look a little bit more put together and flawless. And if I do think I need more, then I do add more, but again, I like to build products. And also, I like to do this brightening step after the contour, just because if I did get a little out of hand with it, it will kind of carve it out and make it a little bit more crisp. And then I take whatever is extra on the beauty blender and I don't want to put too much on the forehead and down the nose, but I do want a little something, and this helps. Setting powder is something that I have been struggling with to find something besides my Laura Mercier. I absolutely love the Laura Mercier, and a close second to that is the Coty Airspun. If you're looking for something a little bit cheaper, this one is a little bit more finely milled, and I do really like this for under the eye, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use this. I pour a little bit into the cap. Some people take baking to the extreme, and that's fine. For me, I used to do that, but this works better for me for a more natural, flawless base. So I do take it. Actually, where's my other one? I'm just going to take the pointed end, and I'm going to take it in my powder. And I like to start from the outer to the inner. And again, I like to build the powder. I find that if you just go directly with a whole bunch of powder on your face, you're not going to get an even application, and it will look patchy in some areas if that's something you have a problem with. So definitely take your time and go over it a little by little. And then it just makes this under eye area super smooth. My smile lines. And a little bit on my forehead. And because the Laura Mercier is so expensive, I don't set my entire face with this. That's whenever the Coty Airspun comes in. And I use the shade Naturally Neutral just because I want a little bit more color to my face rather than the Laura Mercier that's just straight up white. White-ish. So what I do is I take the powder and then this little puff. This is something that I've seen Patrick Starr do, and this really helps with oily skin. It's like baking the face, but I don't go extreme with it, and you just lightly set everywhere. Even the contour. I find setting the contour with a loose powder really stops that contour from becoming patchy. Again, this is all about what works best for your skin. Trial and error. If you want to pack it on and see how that looks, and if you love it, great. For me, I've noticed over time, I am getting a little bit older. I noticed that thick method of applying stuff the way I was in past videos, you can go watch. It doesn't really work for me that well. I am going to, after I've set my face, if you want to just leave it at that, that's fine. I do find the setting powder, no matter how colored it claims to be, it still leaves me with this white cast. So I do like to go over it with a pressed powder or powder foundation. This is by CoverGirl. It's the Outlast All Day in the shade Fair to Light. I really love this. I think it does an excellent job at making your skin, the makeup on your skin, look like skin. I also pat. I don't swirl. If I do, it's very lightly swirls, just because I don't want to disrupt any of the foundation or powder or anything that I've already put on my face. When I am powdering my face, I want to stay away from the under eye area, just because I do have powder there, and I do want that to be a little bit brighter. This is also whenever I do my powder contour. Lately, I've been having trouble finding a powder that I've really been loving, but I do really enjoy the Butter Bronzer by Physicians Formula. Okay, so I'm going to be using the Butter Bronzer in the shade Bronzer. I do know they have a lighter one. It's too light for me. With the Morphe M530 brush, or if you don't have Morphe, don't worry about it. Go get you a Sonia Kashuk number 18 brush. Very similar, and you can get these at Target. And I'm going to bronze up the face. I like more a diffused bronzy contour, I guess you want to say, just because it's going to give the illusion that it's more natural. And I do like these brushes that are a little bit more skinnier but a little bit more fluffy at the same time, because it really fits into the curves of my face. Again, I like to put most of my product in the back just because it's easier to blend out this way. Some people like a very chiseled contoured nose. I just do it to make my face look like, give my nose a little bit of definition. I don't really do it to like make me have a slimmer nose because I'm perfectly fine with my nose. Then what I do next is I take a big fluffy brush. This is the Real Techniques blush brush. I actually sometimes use this for my contour, bronzer, and blush just because I love how natural and fluffy it is, and it blends super, super nice. I think Marc Jacobs makes a brush similar to this for like 78 bucks, but ain't nobody got time or money for that, so I use this. Then to bronze up my face, this is the Milani Soleil Baked Bronzer. And I just take this on the very ends. And I just bring up whatever left on the brush up to my hairline. This just makes me look like I've been like sun-kissed. Sometimes I take it a little bit right here. Okay, so after we bronze the face, we're going to go on ahead and put a little bit of blush. I've really been loving the Wet n Wild Color Icon in Rose Champagne. This is a mauve skin tone, very light blush. I'm not a blush girl, so I try and find something that works best for me. This does have light shimmer in it. And I'm going to use the e.l.f. highlighting brush. Then, I don't know why I do this. I just like how it looks, I guess. I go with the Milani Baked Blush in Rosa Romanica. I think this is one of their newer ones. I use it more so like a blush topper. I guess if you're very fair skin, you could use it as a highlight. But I just like to give my blush just like a little glisten. Does that sound stupid? I don't know. It just makes it look a little bit healthier. You know? Then before I go in and do my eyes, I like to spray my face just because at this point with all the powder, it's starting to feel really tight, and from like the baking, I take my Mario Badescu, this is the rose one, and I spray my face. And then I fan it. This makes me feel so extra, but I learned it from Nikki Tutorials and it really works. It works for this step in my makeup routine just because I want all the powder to settle in my face, and it makes a huge difference because it makes it look like my skin. Then sometimes to top that off, I will go in with this Claudie, I don't know how to say this, but it's the Eau de Raisin, well no, it's a grape water spray. This, in my opinion, is a dupe for the Morphe setting spray. This is $10, the Morphe spray is $14, plus shipping and the time it takes to get to your house. Just go to Sephora and get you one of these. It's the same thing. The aerosol spray, and spray your face. Same concept, does the same thing, and you don't have to worry about it being sold out. At this point, sometimes I would do my highlight because I do like a little bit of a tacky wet base for the foundation, for the highlight to sit. But lately I've been skipping that step and doing my highlight last because I like how it pulls in the look. For this look, I am going to be using the Jaclyn Hill palette. Don't feel pressured into buying it. I'm sure you can get similar shades elsewhere, or you may already have these colors in your collection. For instance, like these shades here, I could get from one of my bronzers if I'm being very honest. I do really love this palette. I have been reaching for it on the daily. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the leftover foundation and concealer that's on my eyelids, and I'm not going to use a lid primer. I'm just going to bring that down and blend it in to get the crease out my eyelid. The only thing I will say is I am a little disappointed that the that one of these two colors right here is not a matte. They are both shimmer, so you can't really set your eye with it. So I just go in with a face powder and I set my lid, which is no big deal. I could have used any other color, but I prefer just setting it with an eye powder, not a face powder. By the way, this is a Sephora Pro Crease number 10 brush. I love this brush. And then I'm going to be going in with the first row, third shade. You're literally going to need 3 shadows at most. You take this just directly all over in your crease. I go a little bit above my crease because I do have hooded lids. You could just get away with that, but I'm going to make it look a little bit more put together. I'm going to take this Morphe brush. It doesn't have a number on it, but I know you can get one, the exact same brush in the Jaclyn set, whatever. I'm going to go in with the second row, second shade, right here. On camera, it comes off a little bit more orange than what it actually is. This is going directly in the crease, no higher. We're just adding dimension. This is really like not necessary. You could just do the first shade and a shimmer all over the lid and be done. I probably should have done this at the beginning, but and I'm only using 3 brushes for this. I'm using third row, second shade. It's this color right here. It is a shimmer. And I'm using this flat shader brush by Wet n Wild. Okay, so if you don't have the Jaclyn palette and you're interested in some shimmer shades, this Infallible eyeshadow in Amber Rush is like a really good dupe for the color I just used. There is a tad bit of fallout, but that's no big deal because we can just take this brush and wipe it away and there's no like residue under the eyes. Like sometimes that happens with eyeshadows. Lately I haven't been wearing any type of liner, but I do like to go in with a liner brush. I do like to go in with like a liner brush of some sort. Just an angled one is fine. And I'm going to go in with the last row, 5th shade. It's this one right here. I was one of the lucky ones who got a card that has the names on it, but I don't know where that is right now. This just brings a little bit more dimension to the eye and it hides the band of the lashes a little bit better. Okay, and this is it for the eyes. I'm going to move on to lashes. I get questions about lashes a lot. Where did you get them? What kind are they? They make your eyes look so good, like things like that. The best advice I can give for lashes besides like application tips is finding ones that fit your eye and that make your eyes pop. Also lashes that go with your eye look. For me, like right now, I'm doing a very minimal eye, so I can go a little bit more extreme with the lashes and let that be the main focus. But if I'm doing something that's a little bit more smokier or like a halo eye that I want to have like a pop of metallic or glitter or something like that, I'm going to use lashes that are a little bit less in your face, more like a wispy or something like that, just to give the eyes the full attention that they deserve. I mean, you did spend a lot of work on your eyes, so let them show. And it's okay to use a smaller lash, but in this case, because my eyes are so natural and minimal, I am going to be using my all-time favorite lash. It's the Eyelure Definition number 126. I have used this specific pair already, and I am going to use them again. It is okay to use lashes multiple times. I would say maybe after the 4th time I would throw them out, just because sometimes the band gets to be a little bit harder to work with, and it's a little bit harder to take off that excess glue. I did cut these before I wore them the first time. They could fit my eye, but they do poke a little bit on the inner corners, and I just want it to be as comfortable as possible to wear. So it's okay to cut. I would recommend cutting from the inner instead of the outer, because sometimes the outer is where the drama is and the volume, and you don't want to take away from that. So I would recommend taking from the inner. Okay, so I went on ahead and I just applied the lashes on off camera. If I have a video on it, I'll link it down below. Or if you want me to do another video dedicated to eyelash application, then like this video and I can. These make my eyes look a lot bigger than what they are, and if you can tell, they are they're dramatic for me, but they're also natural, so they kind of look like they would be my eyelashes. I'm gonna go on ahead and add a little bit of mascara to my bottom. Right now I can't find it. I usually do a nude liner, and then that really makes my eyes pop, but I'm gonna skip that today. And for my bottom lashes, I love this Wet n Wild Mega Slim Skinny Mascara. It's like perfect for these little bitty lashes. Also, another tip is find eyeshadows that really make your eyes pop. I notice whenever I wear this color, it really makes my hazel eyes look green and pop and really vibrant, and I feel like that really helps tie in the look. Since I did do my brows off camera, and it was the first step that I did, sometimes with the powder and the foundation, they do end up looking a little bit faded. So for that, I like to use the Maybelline Brow Precise Fiber Volumizer. It does have this weird shaped brush, but it does have little bitty fibers, and it really grips that brow hair. I wouldn't recommend this for people who have slim brows. This is great for like thicker. And I don't know if you can really tell a difference. This one is just a little bit darker than that one now. Even though it has pigment, I would say it's very similar to the Anastasia Clear Brow Gel in the sense that it will make your brows stay wherever you put them. And even sometimes I'll go over that with the brow gel. Today I'm not. Next up is highlighter. This is like my favorite step. You could just get away with this. It's very natural and like your skin but better type thing. But I really love highlighter. It really pulls this look in together for me. And for that, people don't talk about this, and I don't know why. Maybe because it's a baked product, but this is the Milani Day Glow Strobe Light, no, number 2 Strobe Light. They have several different shades of this. This one's more of a rose goldish, not so much gold, you know, but it's absolutely beautiful. It's very comparable to Ofra's Rodeo Drive. not for texture. This is way more creamier, way more buttery. This one's way more creamier than this one, but the shades are very similar, and I do love them both equally. So what I'll do is I will spray my face just one more time. Just a little bit, because I don't think my mascara has dried all the way, and I don't want this to dry down too quick, so I'm not going to fan it. I'm going to take this with my ABH A23 brush, and I do use a generous amount. I do go in there pretty hard. I do tap it a little bit. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. And I am just going to apply this. I do take it right above the brow. And I do take a little bit. I don't really dip back in. I just take whatever's left and just kind of lightly dust it. Because if not, I'll notice I just have two spots right here. This kind of just brings it all together and makes it look a little bit more like the sun is kissing my skin. Do a little bit on the nose. And on the top of the lip. You could get away with just that. On camera, it's coming off really nice and reflective. In person, it's more of a natural glow from within, and that's the type of highlighters that I like. For my second highlight, I'm going to go in with a little bit of the Maybelline, the Glow Down. I forgot who here on YouTube brought me onto this. I know Tati's talked about it, but it wasn't Tati. I think her name's like Alora T on Instagram. I don't know. But this is a great dupe for Champagne Pop. And this, I don't go all the way. I just do a little bit to highlight just the cheekbones. I feel like this makes me look like I have filler in pictures, but I promise I don't, because then I do go over it with my beauty blender just to like meld it all together. I see Nicole Guerrero doing this, and it works. And I really like the look of a highlighter. Like, it doesn't look like I have anything on, and then when I turn, it's like there. I love that. Okay, so today for lips, I've really just been loving a liner and a gloss. I used to do like a liquid lip and then a gloss on top, but depending on the liquid lip, it would really ball up on each other, and I didn't like that feeling. So I tried just a lip liner. And today I'm using the Rimmel Lasting Finish in the shade Natural. You really want to make sure that you have a sharp tip on your liner whenever you're trying to get a defined line. And like highlighters, I like to mix glosses. So first, I'm going to mix a little bit of the KKW shade in Kimberly, like me. This liner is a little bit more on the orangey nude, if that makes sense. And I'm going to lighten it up a little bit with this Kimberly. And then on top of that, I've really been loving these Vivid Hot Liqueur lip glosses from Maybelline. And this is in the shade Tease. And then I've really been loving this Sephora gloss in 02 Outrageous. This is a beautiful formula. It hugs your lips. You know how some glosses are like super thick and, you know what I'm saying, sticky? This is just a beautiful formula. It only comes in 3 shades, but I love the doe foot. It's curved, so the product sits in the curve. This does have a slight plumping effect. It's not bad at all, but if you don't like those types of things, you may not like this. For a gloss, this lasts a really long time, and it's very affordable. It's like $12 for a Sephora brand. Okay, and that completes this look. I really hope that you enjoyed learning some tips and tricks from me and how to get this perfect flawless face application and my go-to look. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment down below on future videos that you'd like to see. Thanks for watching, and see you again next time. Bye!